Greetings and welcome to Hacks Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, I'm going to be doing a first look at an old game that has just been reprinted by Multiman Publishing. This is from the Gamer series, Standard Combat series specifically, and it is a Fallschirmjaeger, the Airborne Assault on Fortress Holland, May 10th through 14th, 1940. This was designed by Wambold, and of course the series was designed by Dean Essig. As I said, this is a reprint, so not a new game. It's been around a while, but this is, fresh off the presses, so to speak. So I picked it up because I don't have it or didn't have it. And I'm a fan of, the gamers specifically, and Standard Combat series is the least complex of the series of World War II games, tactical combat series, operational, battalion, and standard combat series. So this one, as you probably know or have gathered from what I've just said, is about the airborne assault by the Germans. They turned the phony war into a real one, as it says right there. This is a medium complexity, which is fair. I mean, Standard Combat series is not complex at all, very straightforward, and the solitaire suitability is also medium. In here, you have 3 scenarios: the introductory scenario, which covers 2 of the bridges, then the assault on Den Haag, and the air assault on Fortress Holland, which I believe is probably the whole campaign. What do we have in here? You've got your latest and greatest version of the Standard Combat series, or SCS rulebook. That is version 1.8. The Fallschirmjäger game-specific rulebook, 560 counters, a 22 by 34-inch map, and those 3 scenarios. So this is what the box looks like. Now let's find out what's inside it. Okay, let's open it up. Okay, so desiccant, put that to the side. We get 2 standard 6-sided dice, red and white. We get our little note here, which is included in all of the MMP games, that just talks about their dedication to perfection and customer satisfaction, and how you can reach out and contact them. I was going to say reach out and touch them, but that's not really, that's more of a commercial slogan than something that you actually do. Just tells you what should be in here, thanks you for your purchase, right? Okay, so these are the game-specific rules. They run 16 pages, and we'll take a look at that. A lot of that, of course, is going to be setup information, maybe not a lot, but at least some. This is the standard rules for the SCS system. I will not go over these. I've got several SCS games on the channel that I've done in the past. It is an approachable series, and the rules run 8. That includes designer notes on the back. And yeah, so I mean, it's 7 pages of rules. There are examples. There's not a lot of graphics in here, but it's, like I said, it's a very straightforward system. We'll take a look at the units and markers here. So you can see they have a step available marker, so you can have variable strengths. Now this is system specific, right? Or system, maybe it's the opposite of specific. This is the default for the system, and the individual games may or may not modify any and all of this stuff. But you have your unit symbol, your lower unit designation, your higher assignment, if any, unit size, right? Exploit capability. That's indicated by the yellow box, which has the numbers in it. Then it's attack, defense, movement, right? You're kind of typical across the bottom trio there. They're not always in that order, but it is attack, defense, and movement allowance. Then you've got your out of supply marker. That supply is, as it is in all of their games, important. Less so and less detailed, I guess I should say, than in, say, the battalion or operational combat series. And your turn record marker. Then you've got your NATO key for your symbols, infantry and armor, and then all of the various sizes of units. And your zone of control, and how it could be limited by terrain, right? If you don't have a bridge there across rivers, you don't have zones of control into those 2 hexes, movement examples, etc. Right? So it's like I said, it's very straightforward, and I'm not going to go through it in detail. I'll put this aside for a moment. We'll just take a quick spin through here. Here's our turn sequence. You have your German player turn, then the Dutch player turn. Inside here, let me center this up and zoom in a little bit. Here we have our rule book, right? Basic info in here for specific to this specific edition of the Standard Combat Series, number 8. Each turn is 8 hours, except for the first 2 special turns. Each hex is slightly more than 1 kilometer. Ground units represent platoons and companies. Ships represent 1 or 2 vessels. You got descriptions of what the colored for the counters are. The Germans will be gray, blue, green, field gray, black, or pale blue for their various units that are all listed here. You've got the gray blue of the Flieger division. The Luftwaffe division is green, Feldgrau, or field gray for the 9th Panzer Division, black for the SS, and pale blue for the Luftwaffe. Allied units, orange for the Dutch, pale green Dutch Air Force, brown for the British, light blue for the French, medium blue for the Dutch Navy. All right, unit symbols, armor units. A few units shown with the traditional armor symbol are actually armored cars, Dutch M36s, for example. While purists would insist on using the armored car symbol for these units, there's little or no actual difference between the two at this point in the war in this terrain. That's pretty much true. Early war tanks were undergunned compared to what you got, 2 years later, maybe a year or 2 later. Anyway, special rules, right? So you got special rules for this being the Netherlands. You've got special rules for things like the lakes and river bridges and so on, right? So you could see you got the Maas River bridges here, full hex bridges, ferry restrictions, overrun, all that kind of end of major river markings. There are night turns, and they are identical, except as noted on the turn record track, night turns are identical to day turns. Stacking 4 units in 1 hex. Trucks, leaders, gold reserve, bridges, air, and naval do not count. Disorganized units. Units can become DG, or disorganized. That is a staple of the system because of barrage fire. They cannot move, attack, make any aircraft fire or barrages, and have no zone of control. They defend at half strength and retreat normally. Out of supply marker, your ranged weapons, such as any aircraft, artillery, mortar, infantry guns, some weapons, and ships can fire at hexes that are not adjacent to them. There are no line of sight or spotter requirements. See, very simple system here. Then you got barrage rules, anti-aircraft rules, a lot of rules about that kind of stuff, air barrages. So an air barrage would be, as you might expect, a close air support type of thing, or just a bomber, maybe. But obviously, Stukas are mentioned specifically in here. Then you got leader rules, stacking, all that kind of stuff, student and German paratrooper reorganization. All German Junker 52 points are available on turn 1, but only those left unused on turn 1 are available on turn 2. New ones become available on turn 3, so you have limited points there that are shared over turns 1 and 2, basically. Seaplane landings, special drop zone units are only allowed on turn 1. And you've got assault units, the aforementioned JU 52 points, seaplane landings, paradrops, right? I mean, it's called Fallschirmjäger, there's going to be paratroopers in it. Air landing and supply rules are here. Armored train, German engineers and bridges. Then you've got the rules that are special for the Dutch. On the first 2 turns, Allied units can only move half of their movement allowance in the movement and or exploit phase as appropriate. Regular attacks and overruns are allowed normally, given the MA limitation. Ships move normally. If a unit has a movement allowance of less than 2, you can use that unit's MA instead. No Dutch supply on turns 1 and 2 either. Dutch barrages are allowed on 1 and 2 normally to include air. Trucks, Dutch gold reserve, evacuation, British intervention, French restrictions, then victory point or victory determination, and so on. And then we get into our scenarios. So as mentioned on the back of the box, there are 3 of them. Introductory one, the bridges rather, at Noorderke and Dordrecht, introduces players to the paradrop and combat procedures. Consider this scenario as a warm-up for the others. Then you have the assault on Den Haag. This scenario focuses on the ill-fated attempt by the 22nd Luftlandde Division to seize the airfields around the Hague, I always say the Hague, but it's probably the Hague, and to capture the Dutch capital. 5.3, air assault on Fortress Holland. This is covers the entire battle from the airdrops to the entry of the relieving ground forces. And you get all the information for everything. 5413, Queen Wilhelmina. And then you get developer notes and player notes. And then a list of abbreviations. And on the back, your CRT, your air landing tables, and your paradrop terrain losses. So those are the rules. Now let's finish looking at our components here. Here is the first counter sheet. So again, looking at colors to tell who's who here. These would be, I think, Germans. So you can see some of their units here. Pretty standard, counters. Now you may notice they look different than what we saw in the series rulebook in terms of the numbers here, right? There were 3. These only have 2. And of course, they do have a backside. So you have an assault identifier, that's your arrow. Then your combat strength is attack and defense. So that's why there's only 2. And movement allowance. The rest of it, the one at the top, that's this number of steps. So the rest of it is basically in alignment with the scenario. So you can see here, see if we can find one that has an assault arrow on it. Not in this row, apparently. I don't see any on this sheet, actually. You can see lots of engineers. Then we have some other units, including some British here, and also French. Some aircraft, that would be the Dutch. I mean, the famous Fokker aircraft, Fokker was a Dutch company. Fokker, of course, famous in the First World War. Many of the German fighters were made by them. So here we have some assault-capable units, as you can see here. These are Fallschirmjägers, airborne troops. They do have assault ability. They are single-step counters. On the back, you can see parachute. So they, unlike these guys over here, which this is the back, it has a single step on the front. Actually, it has they're 2. There. Okay. Bridge markers, then some German aircraft. And there are the dreaded DG markers for when your unit gets disorganized, which is never a good thing. This would be the Luftlandde Division, even though I see this color, I think Americans, more Germans. So those are our 2 counter sheets. And here's our map. So I will take a pause here and then I'll spread this out so we can take a look at it. Okay, so this is a sizable chunk of the map. That's the top left edge right there. So you can see a lot of water, obviously, various rivers. Here, of course, is Rotterdam. Here is Den Haag over here. And yeah, just a lot of water. So you have various tables on the map as well. And again, this is just like MMP maps or the gamer maps. They have a standard look. They're very functional, and there's not a lot of funky terrain on this particular map. It's all pretty standard, kind of clear, low terrain, I guess. Your basic green here. You do have some trees and things in various spots, and a little bit of some stuff on this side that you can see, this kind of brown here. And of course, this is the North Sea here. So there should be a compass, I think, on here somewhere. Compass rose, where would it be? Maybe there has to be one. Yeah, it's right here. So north is this way. Okay. Just this is the best orientation for the game itself. But if the North Sea is on this side, then you know that north is going to generally be that way. It's actually kind of that way. Right? That would be west and east and south. So some of the things on the map, I'll move this over so you can see it a little bit better. We have our air support table here. Here's your terrain effects chart. It's got obviously a picture, then the feature, then the movement point cost, any notes, and then on this side you've got your combat effects, notes for that, and barrage values. Dutch victory point track is here, Germans here, Dutch air support table, British air support table. Other markings, German line of communication is the yellow, so that's going to run straight along here, as you can see, as they move, I guess, onto the map. Victory point totals, entry areas, that's a common thing as well. There's an A here. This is another staple of the gamers. Letters around the border that tell you where entry points are. Here's the turn track with descriptions about special rules that are in effect for those turns. That's a very nice touch. I appreciate that. Here's Leiden over here. Here's the JU-52 track, runs from 0 to 9. Different start totals per scenario. If you go full boat campaign, you get 72 points. If you do just the standard start basic scenario, you get 24, and 36 for scenario 2. Any aircraft rolls and barrage rolls. Game logo. Oops, you can't see any of that, can you? No, you can't. All right, so logo. Here's your barrage roll table, AA roll table. This is what I was talking about with your JU-52 points, and this is the track for it right there. And there is the compass rose right there. It's more of a compass oval, but you get the point. So yeah, that is going to do it for our look at Fallschirmjäger upside down. There it is. The Airborne Assault on Fortress Holland, May 10th through 14th, 1940. From Multi-Man Publishing, the Gamers Standard Combat Series, designed by Wambold, and the series, of course, created by Dean Essig. So, thank you for watching. Of course, I will play this at some point in the probably not too distant future. I do plan on probably doing mostly World War I stuff next month. Far Seas, amongst others, that I will leave a mystery for the moment, you know, just because. But yeah, so look forward to, I mean, if you haven't seen it, this is not a new game. I'm sure there are playthrough videos on YouTube already. They may be old, but that doesn't necessarily make them not valuable. Anyway, I will do my own because I do want to play this. I don't typically buy stuff unless I want to play it. That's how things work. So, in general. Anyway, thank you for watching. Quick shout out to my channel members. As always, I want to give them their props for supporting the channel. If you're interested in finding out how that all works, you can click the join button to get information. There is no obligation. Otherwise, while you're here, hopefully you will consider liking, sharing, maybe hyping, or perhaps even subscribing. But even if you don't do any of those things, hopefully you'll come back and check out something down the road. If you have something to say, feel free to leave a comment. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, I guess we're done. So until next time, I'm Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. And as always, happy gaming.